Okay, let's talk about a new kind of arms race. But this one isn't being fought with missiles or submarines, not really. Nope, it's being fought over the tiny materials that are inside your phone, inside your car, and yes, inside the world's most advanced weapons. Today, we are diving deep into the global battle for what are called critical minerals.
So I want you to think about something for a second. What really fuels the future? It seems like a simple question, right? But the answer has become incredibly complex, and it's probably not what you think.
Because, it's not just about oil and gas anymore. The real answer is buried deep in the earth, in a handful of elements that have suddenly become as strategic as any weapon system. You could say these minerals are the new gunpowder of the 21st century. They are, quite literally, the new instruments of national power.
So let's break down exactly what we're talking about here and get into why nations are now willing to risk global stability just to control these materials.
Okay, so what even are critical minerals? Well, leading research institutes define them as materials that are absolutely essential for our economies. But, and this is the really important part, their supply chains are fragile and incredibly easy to mess with. We're talking about everything from the lithium in an electric car battery to the rare earth elements inside a guided missile. They're the foundation of both the green energy transition and modern defense.
To really get a handle on this competition, you have to start thinking like a strategist. See, the power in this new arms race comes from controlling specific points in the global supply chain. We call them choke points, and they dictate the flow of these materials all the way from the ground to the factory.
Let's use cobalt as our first example. It's absolutely essential for the high-performance batteries in our phones and our electric cars. Now look at this. A staggering 76% of all raw cobalt on the entire planet is mined in one single country, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Talk about a vulnerability.
But the journey doesn't stop there, not even close. That raw ore is then shipped thousands of miles away, and most of it ends up in China, which completely dominates the refining process. This is the perfect illustration of the problem. You have two critical choke points, one country for mining, another one for processing. If something goes wrong in either place, entire global industries could grind to a halt.
So how on earth did we get into this situation? Well, this dependency wasn't some kind of accident. It's the result of decades of two totally different strategies. Back in the 90s, the West pretty much saw mining as a dirty, old-school industry and moved away from it. Meanwhile, China was playing the long game. They launched a global resource security policy way back in 2003 and then used their massive Belt and Road Initiative to build the infrastructure needed to dominate processing. And today? Well, today the West is scrambling to play catch-up, trying to rebuild the very supply chains it let go of.
Okay, let's get into the numbers. This is where the hard data really shows the staggering, almost unbelievable scale of this global imbalance.
Let's start with rare earth elements. These are a group of metals that are essential for, well, pretty much all high-tech manufacturing, from wind turbines to precision missile guidance systems. China controls 69% of the global mining. And what's even more important, it has an even more dominant share of the incredibly complex refining process. That leaves the rest of the world with very, very limited options.
And if you thought that was a big number, it gets even more extreme. Take a mineral like gallium. You've probably never heard of it, but without it, you don't get high-end semiconductors or military-grade infrared sensors. And here, the dependency isn't just big, it's practically total. China controls an astounding 99% of all processed gallium in the world.
And the pattern just keeps repeating itself over and over again. For natural graphite, which is essential for EV battery anodes, China's share is 79%. For antimony, used in flame retardants and military equipment, it's 60%. And for magnesium metal, which is critical for making cars and planes lighter, it's a near total monopoly at 95%.
Now, this level of control isn't just an interesting number on a spreadsheet. It's leverage. It's power. It's a weapon. And we are now entering an era where that weapon is being actively used.
We are watching a complete paradigm shift happen in real time. The before picture was an era of free trade, where the dominant belief was that open markets would lead to shared prosperity for everyone. The after picture, where we are right now, is an era of restriction. It's defined by resource nationalism and this core belief that national security is economic security.
And you don't have to guess what this new era looks like. Just look at Indonesia and its massive nickel reserves. This quote from the Asia Sentinel sums up their thinking perfectly. They just decided to change the rules of the game. And this number right here, this is why their strategy is so tempting for other countries. By banning the export of raw nickel ore, Indonesia basically forced companies to build expensive smelters right there, inside its own borders. And the result?
the value of its nickel exports skyrocketed by over 1,300%, from about $2 billion to $30 billion. Just incredible.
So let's be crystal clear about this. This isn't some theoretical conflict in the future. The first shots have already been fired. In 2024, China slapped export licenses on gallium and germanium. It then banned antimony exports to the US, and the US has fired back, announcing a future 25% tariff on Chinese graphite. The era of weaponized trade isn't coming. It's already here.
So all of this brings us to a really big, really uncomfortable question for leaders all over the globe. It's a problem we're calling the green security dilemma.
Okay, so here's the crucial point, the central paradox. To build our clean energy future, to make all the solar panels, wind turbines, and EVs we need, we have to massively ramp up mining and mineral processing. The problem? Those just happen to be some of the most environmentally damaging and carbon-intensive activities on the entire planet.
And this single fact just brilliantly illustrates the scale of the issue. Research shows that processing just 1 ton of rare earth elements can create up to 2,000 tons of toxic waste. Just think about that ratio for a second. It's an almost unbelievable figure, with absolutely enormous environmental consequences.
Which leaves us with this one final critical question. This global push for a green future has accidentally created a brand new battlefield, fought over the very materials we need to get there. So, are clean energy and national security now mutually exclusive? Do we have to choose one over the other? That, right there, is the dilemma facing the entire world today.